Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast.
Sparky Coach Pod, Cam here with Crowy. What's up? Hope everyone's going well. I want to touch on a subject that I think we can all understand and acknowledge that it is probably pretty important. Where's your time going every week? What are you spending your time doing? And what is a productive week versus a non-productive week? I really want to focus on currently what you're doing and where you're spending your time and what are you spending your time doing. And the answer is, I'm going to say most people probably like, I have no idea.
We're touching on, I feel like we're touching on a touchy subject because when you start asking people,
doing heaps.
yeah, I'm doing so much. And everyone's just busy. And we say this all the time, but the whole town knows you're busy because you're in the coffee shop at 6:05. Oh, a busy day. And they're not discounting that. I think that's cool. It's cool to be busy to an extent, or it's cool to be important. But, when you're just busy sort of spinning the tires and we're not going anywhere. So when you're busy, the classic age-old example of running on the treadmill, running on the hamster wheel, running on something and running on fumes, and it just has no end. That's the biggest thing. Like, it doesn't end. And I think when you keep looking at everything I think too often we're looking at everything to day to day or hour to hour. So it's like, well, I've just got to do whatever the hell today throws at me, and then tomorrow I'll just do and then you turn up on Wednesday and you're at the wrong job, or you forgot about a job, or you're the wrong materials, or you haven't got that quote out, and it can so often feel that you're just sort of
existing.
Not even like, it's the classic thrive versus survive. Not even surviving, maybe slowly dying. Maybe dying a slow death. You're definitely not thriving. You're definitely not surviving. You're just literally crawling slowly into an inevitable death. And that sucks. Like, I've definitely been there, and I know you've been there. I know most of our listeners would be like, inevitable death. Yes. And I think you got to laugh at it because it's kind of funny in a way that there is so much you can do about this. It's not a hopeless situation. It's actually incredibly hopeful. And that's what we want to bring to light. And I remember a couple of things here. I put a post up on Insta the other day, and it said, if you're a business owner working 40 hours a week, you probably need to hire. And I think that's your first sort of like, are you doing too much? Are you actively just trying to do too much? You're like, oh, so busy. And it's like, well, you're trying to do too much. And then the other thing is, are you doing too much, but it's the wrong items? So in other words, I'm reconciling at 10 o'clock at night. I'm working all day Sunday, and that's cool. But do you really need to be dotting the I's and crossing the T's on that invoice? Probably not, right? Or do you need to be doing your BAS? And you might laugh at the reconciling and the BAS, but I encourage you to time audit your time and see where your time's going, because you'll be cooking it to some extent. So it's just, I want to encourage everyone. It's incredibly hopeful. And I remember I remember getting a coffee one day in Cronulla. The local coffee shop, Ham, was my go-to. They did an amazing 4-cheese toasty.
Ooh.
Yeah. You can smell it from here, I reckon, the 4-cheese toasty. Delicious. It was actually really, really good. And I would encourage it. I don't think it's on the menu anymore, but just tell them I sent you and order it. But I remember walking across the road, and I remember being really stressed. Like, I think I was on my 17th flat white for the day. And if you're unsure of where the milk goes to, it goes straight to your hips. That's what happens. When you're drinking that much milk, it's pushing straight to your hips. You need to get in a black coffee ASAP, or your hips will explode and you won't be able to fit up the manhole anymore, which would be devastating to your roof career. It might be a good thing in a way. But I remember going across and I had a coffee in my hand, and I saw one of my one of my good friend's brothers who worked for the rival company. You might have heard me talk about this rival company before. This guy was, the company was better than me, than our company. He was better looking than me. He had a better house than me. He drove a better car than me. He was more organized than me, to the point where literally, like, he was fitter than me. Like, I remember turning up to a job and I saw him and he'd been like swimming laps in the morning. I'd been dying a slow death and he was thriving, like exactly what we were just saying. But I remember walking past my mate's brother and this guy who was a weapon. And I remember he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, so much paperwork. I think I had 2 staff at that point." And he just, remember? He just gave me this look and he was like, "Cool story, Hansel." Like this full look that was just, you're something's not right here. And I remember feeling hyper self-conscious and hyper just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I going home? And I think that's what kicked me into gear to a certain extent. I remember going home to that point and work off the dining table, hacking the laptop out and realizing that I had 2 staff members and I was trying to be in the office 3 or 4 days a week. If you've done the math calculations on this, you are cooking money so hard. This is completely unsustainable. And I remember just doing the math on just closing our week to that extent. And I was like, holy crap, this is full cooked. And yeah, so it's interesting, but like, it wasn't, I remember Elodie on that. I was like, what are you doing with your time? And I was like, I'm so busy. She's like, yeah, what are you doing? I'm like, no, I didn't hear what I said. I just told you. I'm so busy. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. So I audited my time, and this is actually incredibly interesting to do, especially if you think you're really busy, you'll audit your time and you'll go through it. And I remember thinking I was doing 50 or 60 hours a week, and I might have been, but probably 30 of those were incredibly unproductive. Another 10 were in the wrong spot. And I wasn't hitting my billable hour quota. If you're wondering where your billable hour quota sits, you basically get an office day for every full-time tradie. This is essentially right. Like, so you should be having 1 office day if you're by yourself, like on the tools, and then 1 office day for every tradie thereafter. So 5 tradies, you're probably mathematically off the tools, but you're probably not earning as much as when you are still on the tools with 3 people. That's just a billable hour / like keeping more of your weight, keeping more of your, your income component. Like it's actually, if I showed you on a calculator, you would see it as clear as day, absolutely as clear as day. And I remember, I wasn't hitting my quota of hours. I definitely wasn't filling anyone's cup. We're poorly disorganized, and I was feeling like a chicken with their head cut off, or maybe what else is a good example there? Maybe even not really a chicken. Maybe a chicken not even running around, just dying, bleeding out with no head. This is pointless at this point. So it was interesting, but a time audit kicked me into gear completely. So I want to encourage everyone, like, you might feel incredibly hopeless, like I've got no hope, which I want to encourage you. You can do something about it. You don't have to do this as a job. You don't have to run your own business. You don't have to be anywhere you don't want to be. You don't have to work for that client. You don't have to employ that person. You don't have to put on an apprentice. You don't have to get off the tools. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, or you don't have to do anything that's not beneficial to your business. You can do whatever the hell you want. So, and I think there's so much freedom in that. Like, people get locked into these death loops or cycles where you're doing the same thing expecting a different result, and it's like you're in a washing machine just going round and round and round and round and round, and it's no one's benefiting, no one's winning, the business isn't winning, I'm not winning, my partner's not winning, I haven't seen my kids since Offspring released Smash in 1994. It's just got to be one of the all-time albums of all time, the all-time of all time, double all time. So anyway, what are you thinking as I'm throwing it out there?
Yeah, it's a great album. Shout out to Offspring and Dexter and Co. Funny segue there is, I cannot remember, I reckon about grade 5 or 6, I did a school project on Offspring. And so I researched all the members of the band and did I guess a lot about them, what they did. And Dexter's like some genius. He does something on the side. I can't remember exactly what it was. I'm going to say astrophysicist, but that's probably extreme. But anyway, so
What was their first album? Ignition. I was trying to
Ignition's
think of
great.
I thought it was Nitro, but that's the first song of Smash.
Ixnay on the Ombre.
Yeah, I
Is
was
also
probably more
fantastic.
of a Smash. That was my album.
They're both outstanding. So the time part of it here is, where's your time going? What are you doing? I think the thing to remember here is that, and this is, I think, where everyone lets themselves down to a point, and I don't think it's a subconscious, I don't think it's a conscious decision. I think it just occurs, is that you're actually in control of your time. And I remember, I can't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure it was a builder mate of mine. And I cruised past him somewhere sometime on a job, I think it was. And I'm like, oh, what are you up to? Like, what did you do this morning? He's like, I just went for a surf. I was like, what do you mean you went for a surf? Like, how did you find time to do that? And he was just like, I just wanted to go for a surf, so I just made it the priority. And I was like, oh, you can do that? And he's like, yeah, you just like ring people back when they, if you've missed any calls or anything like that. And I think this is the thing here, is that really understanding that the time and your week is all yours. And like you touched on there, Crow, you can do whatever you want with it. And you can do it really poorly, or you can do it really well. And what I think occurs a lot of the time is, and I think part of this death loop that occurs with business owners, is that all the things that we enjoy doing and all the things that, let's use the terminology of fill your cup up. They're all the things that get pushed to the side and drop off the weekly not weekly requirement, the weekly agenda, so to speak. Insert activity here: going for a walk, going to play touch footy once a week, going to OzTag, going for a surf, playing in the local footy team, all those sorts of bits and pieces. What happens is work becomes your absolute priority and numero uno existence. And I think also tied with that is a little bit is, it basically becomes you and what you're about. And it's like, so the more I work, the more I am fulfilled by it and I have an identity for it. And I think there's a period of time where, like, yeah, that might be okay for like a small short period. But I think long term, like, no one wants to go to their funeral and be like, oh yeah, I remember, like, CRM Electrical, it was like they were the best. He was the best dude in the world as an electrician, but I don't know what else he did outside of it.
I've never been in the roof spaces he was in, but I'm sure that.
So it's sort of like, it's an interesting one. So what are you doing with your time? Where's it going? Do you know at the very least, do you know what you're doing next week? And what I mean by that is, like, are you organized in a sense of, do you know what the jobs are? I'm going to say that if you don't know what you're doing, it's probably a sign that you're pretty disorganized. Do you know when you're sending your invoices out? Is it on a Tuesday afternoon between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, for example? Or is it somewhere between now and the end of the financial year? Do you know when you're quoting? Is that quote going to be out within 48 hours? Or is that quote going to be out after the client's rung me 4 times and asked for it, and then I finally ring them back to tell them that, oh, hey, we're ready to go, and like, the job was done a month ago? So what are you doing with your time, and where's it all going? The time audit part, I'd love to hear a bit more thought around that, Crowy, because we had a bit of discussion around it earlier today.
Yeah, and referencing fantastic book on this is Buy Back Your Time. I got to be honest, I don't love books that I'm more of like a fiction reader than a non-fiction. In terms of fiction book land, like in a non-fiction fiction. So I will highlight this to say I don't love books when they tell you exactly what to do, because I think selling labor and materials is incredibly unique. It's such if you're electrical, aircon, solar, it's a very incredibly unique situation. You're selling labor materials, which is subjective to who's doing the work, and there's an argument to say every single job that's not predictable, aka a new rough in, is also subjective. So you've got this double subjective element, and you can quote something correctly and handle it incorrectly. And this is why I don't like people getting coached from companies that sell coaching services, or they sell, you might even call it products at that point, because you can hit a sales quota within a day, and then you can, like, your lifestyle and your time management and your consistency of product is almost a given, because you're in an office the whole time and people are coming through a pretty linear pathway. So it's totally opposite to the linear pathway. And so the fact that you feel disorganized sometimes is probably because the day is throwing you curveballs. Like, think of the things that can go wrong in your day. You can get an emergency call out, and if you've only got 2 staff members, guess who's going to the emergency call out? Probably you after hours. Yeah. Flip a coin. Is it me or is it me? Who's going this one? And a job might go long. A client, I really like, I feel like I'm on a bit of a rant here, but like, I actually can't stand when people make the client an issue, when the client's like, oh, while you're here, can you just? And like, oh, people just ask you that all the time. Like, isn't that a good thing? Like, it's a great thing. Or how do I spend more money with your company? Like, the fact that you think you need to volunteer for that is wrong. Like, you need to charge for that. But that's a great thing. It's a great thing that the client would look at your work and be like, oh, I trust these guys. I like these guys, and I want them to do more work for me. That's a God bless that. That's amazing. You've just landed a job because your reputation's carried you there. There's been no advertising. There's been no hustling. There's been nothing. All you got to do is be good to deal with, and that's it, right? So, but yeah, it's so interesting to talk about, like, back to the time audit. I would just say one of the cleanest things you can do is to forget everything exists and just draft your dream week. Like, and when I say dream week, you're not just going to be like surfing from 9 to 5 unless you're like that good. You can get I'm gonna go to the gym, but there's certain things you will want to do, right? There's certain things, like, the only person stopping you from exercising is you. And I say that with a grain of salt to someone who's got really young kids and having a hard time. I feel ya, and feel free to reach out if you want to chat. It's dark. It gets dark out there sometimes. We had 2 young kids, like 20 months apart, and we had 2, and one of them wasn't sleeping, and it was an absolute, like, having a break was taking one kid to do the shopping or something. That was having a break, and it's just like, it gets absolutely wild out there. So look after yourself and know what season you're in. If you're just like leaving your wife or partner at home while you're going and exercising that's probably want to check yourself before you rickety wreck yourself on that one. But also, you need to be selfish. You got to know the line, and I think an open discussion between 2 adults can be really helpful at that point. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying, draft your dream week. So forget anything exists, and you'll be drafting in. I want to exercise this point. I want to go surfing at this point. I want to play squash at this point. Shout out to the game of squash, which is great game. Such a stop-starty, fun little. It's so good. To play at elite level would be next level. So anyway, whatever you're gonna do, draft your dream week. What are you going exercising? Honestly, when are you gonna jump on the trampoline with the kids, or what are you gonna do? And on top of that, don't underestimate the torture device that is the phone. So can your phone go somewhere between 5 and 8, between 6 and 8, between 4 and 7, or whatever, while you are fully present somewhere? Because that's sometimes we can feel really busy, and it might just be the fact that we're carrying this torture device around and we're checking socials or checking emails or checking something or whatever. And it feels like you're really busy, but you're just not disciplined. So it's like, okay, I'll check socials at that point. I'll get back to emails 3 times a day or once a day, or insert your time here. I'll log back on between 8 and 9 o'clock. And we're not discounting working hard. We're not discounting working on the weekends. I think that's all cool. If you're into it and doing it, that's fantastic. Like, go and do it. But when it's happening every single week for the whole year, it's probably not sustainable. So draft out your dream week. What does it look like? And what's the non-negotiables in there? You've got your we've got you're like invoicing, you got quoting, you've got so money coming in, money going out, you got late payments, and so you're drafting out like you're assessing workload, hiring, how's the staff, how's the clients, like there's maybe 8 to 10 to 15 major questions you're asking yourself. How's the jobs going? We're finishing. How's the jobs going? We keep going, and how's my labor efficiency? You're asking yourself 15 major questions, and then who's responsible for those 15? You might be like me. Great. Well, when are they going in? You might be like someone else. Cool. Well, when are they going in that person's day? And you get a feel for what you can and you can't do, and you get a feel for what's happening at what time. Now, when you are your own float switch, essentially, if you're still on the tools a little bit, or even in the office, if you're consistently not getting through your work or your non-negotiables, you're sort of like pushing too hard on the tools. It's a hiring indicator. Pushing too hard in the office, a hiring indicator. If it's 1 or 2 weeks, you got to push a bit harder for, whatever. Like that's just life, right? That's business. That's business ownership. That's why you should be making significantly more money than going to work for someone else. That's why the money is so important, because if it's not there, it's not worth it. It's as simple as that. If it's not there, go and work for someone else or do something about it. And I think too often we sit there crying poor or crying woe is me, and it's like, well, you can do something about this.
Yeah.
So get up and do something about it. And I say this in a motivating way, not in a condescending way. Like hopefully it's coming across like, yeah, I can do something about this, and not like, oh, I knew I was an idiot. It's like, well, yeah, you are an idiot. Anyway, but I love what you said before. You're in control. So draft your dream week. What does it look like? What can you fit in? What can't you fit in? And that's going to be a good indicator of what you can fit in and can't fit in.
Yeah.
Be accountable, right? You're accountable to that. This is what, like in our close of the week sessions, you're accountable. Like you just imagine you had a boss and you got to submit your week to them. Are they happy with you, or are they like, what the hell is this? I ordered lasagna. This is a train wreck, right? And then, but yeah, I think that's it. You're in control, and be accountable. And if you can't keep yourself accountable, you shouldn't be running a business. Like, let's face it. Like if you can't hold yourself to a high standard all the time, or a decent standard, if you can't be consistent, if you need someone to motivate you, if you need someone to drag you up and to lift you up all the time, I'm not saying you won't get down sometimes, you're probably in the wrong spot. Like you've probably been sold a dream by someone, and let's face it, it's hard. It can be incredible, and the money can be insane when you get to a certain point, but it's not easy, So anyway, thoughts.
I want to reference back to the in control part. So, and what you touched on there, I really liked around hey, we're here to make money, and if you're not making considerably more money than what you could be doing somewhere else or working somewhere else, like I think that's a real signal, because a real sign. Sorry, because a lot of the time it's so busy, but there's no result. So it's like, well, here's an opportunity to make some change. Like here's an opportunity to do something about it. So like if what you're doing isn't working, fulfilling, isn't getting the outcomes that you're looking for, it's like, well, okay, stop, make a change. And it could be like, I just need to take half a day off to get myself sorted, or a day off, right? What's that, like a couple of phone calls? Realistically, like no one's got 200 jobs in a day to put off. It's like you've probably got a few. So I really want to encourage everyone to be aware that you are in control, and that what you can do about it is in your hands, and you can make the changes that you're looking for. And this can begin with like how this is what the week that I'm looking for. This is what I want to be achieving each week. This is what I want it to look like. And then what you do is you start to get it in a rhythm. And what I'm going to say is, I reckon when you're enjoying, or doing the enjoyable things that fulfill you, or doing outside of work, I reckon it's a natural flow on, that the outcomes, work becomes easier, the meetings become easier, the outcomes are what you want. I think if you reference back to when you first kicked off, so I'm going to say most people here are probably, a few months in to a few years in to maybe a decade in, is that you were probably easy to deal with. You're probably extremely motivated. You're probably like, I'm going to say you're not jaded. You hadn't been burnt yet. You hadn't had a poor experience. Now, I don't think because these things have happened, you need to carry that monkey on your back forever. It's like, hey, what did you learn from it? What can you carry forward? Reference back to that point and be like, hey, how do I get that feeling back? Like, I should be like jumping out of bed, jumping into the van, being happy, being on the front foot, being excited, being easy to deal with. Hey, while you're here, can you change these two lights? As opposed to being like, sure, no problems at all. Where do you want them? The response might be, oh, you serious? Like, I've got these other 4 things to do today. And it's like, well, could you imagine like if you went to Woolies and you went to the chain, oh, can I grab these other 3 items here? And they're like, no, you can't. Like, you'd be like, what's going on?
You said you're only coming for 4 tomatoes. Now you want some cucumber? Are you crazy?
It's bizarre. So
yeah.
I just want to reference here, you're in control. Have a look at what your week is looking like and then draft up what your ideal week will look like and how you want it to pan out, because you are in control.
I love that. And I think that's a lot to sink in. Just if you take one thing out, just be like, it's your schedule. There's no one, you're not on a leash. You literally, you can draft it. And if it feels out of control, it might be. But the first step to getting in control is to recognize, take ownership. Second step, do a time audit. And third step, I'm sure we'll get to in the next pod. Good luck out there.
Cheers.
Bye. That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules, be kind. See you soon.